Okay, awesome. Okay, hi, welcome. So glad to see you tonight. I give you a huge hug from a distance, or an energetic hug, for making this time to be here. I know that it's hard to juggle things. And the only reason you don't hear like loud voices in the background is because my son is out to dinner with my husband. But usually you will hear all sorts of ruckus going on over here. So I know how hard it is to manage everything. In the fact that you guys did it, I am so impressed, and I really honor you for making this time to do this. So let's look at this here. This will tell you what we're going to do. Let me see the next one. Okay, so this is what we're going to do tonight. We're going to do our blessing of our journey, this yogic journey. So just to give you a little bit of background, especially those of you who haven't met me in person, I've been teaching children's yoga teacher trainings for at least 6 years. As a school teacher, I would do it on in the summers. So I would go the school year, and then during the summers, I would teach the children's yoga teacher training. I did that for about 4 summers. Last year, I did an online program, and that was more of peace curriculum. And then all of those programs here was under Seven Centers Yoga Arts. So Seven Centers Yoga Arts is closing. And so I had to adapt it to my own, what I'm doing here and now. It's Sedona Soul. So if that's something that if you're interested in the Yoga Alliance aspect of all of this, then we'll talk about that more later. And Yoga Alliance is the group. It's like the group of people that organizes and regulates teacher trainings in the United States, and actually they're international too. So we'll talk more about that whole aspect of it, okay? But let's just take a moment and I'm ultra aware of the effects of screen time, not only on children, but on adults too. So we're going to really take the time to take good care of ourselves while we're on this journey of having this online format. So I want you to take a moment and close the eyes and take 3 deep breaths, because a lot of the practices that I'm sharing with you, a lot of these practices, we must experience them and practice them in order for us to teach them to children. So here, as we come into this very quiet place, close the eyes, take 3 deep breaths. Inhale and exhale. And just notice the quiet of mind. And maybe the mind isn't quiet, but observe it in any way you can. And if thoughts come through, just allow those thoughts to pass by like clouds in the sky. Take 2 more deep breaths. Take this moment to be in your feet, to feel the sensations of each breath, each inhalation and each exhalation. And just allow the breath to soothe you, calm you. Allow the breath to bring you to this present moment. Inhale, bring the shoulders up to the ears, and then exhale, relax the shoulders back and down. And notice the spine. We're going to talk a lot about the spine in the next 16 weeks. A lot about the body, a lot about the health of the body. All of this from a yogic point of view, and we're going to apply it to children. And this is going to be great. It's so amazing. This is such an exciting time to have these practices and to share them with children for the ultimate peace of children, for the ultimate good of children, for the ultimate peace of on earth, here and now. It's so great. It's so beautiful. So here, as the eyes are closed and we're being mindful of the breath, we're visualizing all the children we're helping with these practices, or that we're going to help with these practices, and the smiles on their faces as we share with them. And you know what happened is, what I found is that we awaken something in them, that they remember something about these practices already. We awaken that inner knowledge of peace within with these practices. Inhaling and exhaling. Being aware of the breath and bringing to mind an image of Ganesha. And Ganesha is the first picture we see on this first slide. It's the elephant-headed deity, and he is responsible for strong beginnings, removing obstacles. He's also a scribe, and there are many great stories about Ganesha, but we bring Ganesha into all of our beginnings. Whenever we start something new, like a school year, like a new venture, like a new class, whatever, we bring Ganapatiye or Ganesha into our awareness, and we ask for help in removing all obstacles on this journey together. Two more deep breaths as we bring blessings and blessings to our time together. And we keep that visual of happy, healthy children, and the children that we're going to help and the children that we're already helping. We keep that in our heart center. When we're doing this work, we just keep that vision in the heart. And let's inhale together and exhale. And go ahead and open the eyes. And return back here. So this is what's on the agenda for tonight. I Need a New Butt by Dan McMillan. I'm gonna show you this. This is a great children's book. These days, I read more children's books than I do other books. So I love collecting them. It drives my husband crazy. But so we're gonna read this book. We're gonna do a breakout session of introductions. We're gonna do our syllabus review. We're gonna go through the 8 limbs of yoga, the yamas and niyamas, and then a homework review. So I'm gonna stop the screen share for a second, and I'm gonna show you this book. So I Need a New Butt. And we laughed at this book. When I found this book, I just was like, Jade and I had so much fun with this. This is by Don McMillan. And let's read it. I'm gonna stand up for this. So the illustrations are just so funny. So, illustrations by Ross Kinnard. I need a new butt. Mine's got a crack. I could see in the mirror a crack at the back. Did I do it on the slide? Or on the banisters inside? Or when I jumped my BMX? Or with a fart that happened next? Of course, the fart. That's what blew my butt apart. Split the thing clean in two. Now I wonder what to do. I need a new one, a green one or a blue one, a fat one or a thin one, a wood one or a tin one. Why not an arty farty butt? One not to be forgotten, with watercolors on the top and a mural on the bottom. You guys see that? Or yellow spotted purple dotted, a butt with color, a butt with flair, a butt as bright as I dare to wear, a butt as bright as Dad's underwear. Or maybe an alien's butt made from a metal like titanium, fireproof, bulletproof, bomb-proof. I'd like a butt that's safety rated, that right butt, a nice butt, a butt that's armor plated. What about a bumper butt made of chrome? Why not, I say, from the 1960s Ford Coupe, one made in the USA. With accessories to complement, like strips of silver smoothly bent, a set of lights left and right for backing round in the night. What a bumper butt, I won't be scared, because bumper cracks can be repaired. But a bumper butt is huge. A bumper butt weighs a ton. I've changed my mind. I want a lighter one. No, I think it's all too late. This cracked butt is my fate. I'm here on my own in this cracked butt zone. No one to care, no one to share. Wait, what's that I hear? This is outrageous. Are butt cracks contagious? Dad, your butt crack is showing. And Dad, there's no way of knowing just how far it's going. The end. I need a new butt. So I'm a reading specialist as well. So I love to bring in different books that can be used with children. And so I'll introduce you to all sorts of books during this training that can be used in kids' yoga classes. So let me go back to the screen share here. Okay, so breakout session. So what that means is that you can unmute yourselves, and we're going to go ahead and just talk about these 3 questions in this breakout session. What is your favorite ice cream and why? This is kind of a good introduction, getting to know each other. And we're going to talk about this and how it can be used, and where are you from, and what do you hope to use, how do you hope to use this training? So we're just going to go ahead and unmute yourselves. Can anybody, we'll start with the book. Can anybody see how you could use this with children? with movement, with even if you don't know kids yoga yet or the poses, can you see how you can use this in different ways? Does anybody have any ideas going around? Yeah? Well, go ahead and introduce yourself and then share if you have any ideas with it.
So I would think, hi, I'm Chandra Ryan, and I'm a teacher and after school director. And I think I could see where kids sometimes they get self-conscious about their body, or like when you're doing, say, a downward facing dog and your butt's sticking up in the air. And, you know, sometimes their shirt flips up and things like that. And I just like to tell kids, it's okay, everybody has a body, and, you know, you don't have to make people feel self-conscious. So this might help with that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's such a great pose to bring up, downward facing dog. When you're doing downward facing dog, then after you introduce this as your book, you can say, oh, do you remember? You can refer back to the book and say, look, our butts are in the air right now, and do we need a new butt? You can come back to referring back to the literature that you introduced them, but that's great. Like, I definitely like that you brought up downward facing dog. Can anyone else think of anything else you could do? Like, there's different images of here of like horses and the space, like the space, them going up into space, and an alien's butt, or so. Some ideas too is that you can even play alien with them using this. You know, you could even come into like pretend and imagination. So pretend and imagination is such a huge part of children's yoga. You have to come into that mind frame of what is the perspective of a child when you're presenting material to them, when you're presenting, and it's beyond just the yoga poses. It's whatever you present to them. How can you get into the seat of that child? Okay. So any more ideas, or anyone else who wants to talk about introduce themselves and talk about your favorite ice cream and why, or talk about why you're taking this training. So Chandra already talked. So anyone else?
I'll go. My favorite, I'm Jackie Kincaid. I'm taking this class because I have a 4-year-old who is very interested in yoga. Her dad owns a self-defense gym, and what I'd like to use this for in the future is with my daughter, with myself, and with other children who are taking the self-defense classes, just as a balance of, because those classes are they're very aggressive, they're very loud, and I want to add the other piece to that, the balance and the calmness and the soothing part, and how everything doesn't always have to be rah. And
Right.
so I want to add that balance to his classes. My favorite ice cream is all of them. I just don't like mint. No. Yeah, I don't have a specific, I guess my go-to would be Rocky Road, because it gives you like a bunch of different flavors in there all at once, and I really like the variety of it.
Nice. Thank you for sharing, Jackie. Yeah, I think it's so important for kids to have that balance. So I'm so glad that you're doing this. I'm so glad that you're giving them that balance through this training. Awesome. So anyone else want to share about their hopes for the training? Amy?
Yeah, I'm Amy Alexander, and I work at Sedona Charter School, teacher in lower elementary, and I want to use this training in my PE class so I can do yoga with the kids there in my class. And I would have to say it's a toss between 2 ice creams for me. I would say chocolate, well, it has to be non-dairy. So non-dairy chocolate or mint chocolate chip.
Nice. Yeah, I do non-dairy too.
Yeah.
That's where Amy and I met. We were both at Sedona Charter School. So the lower elementary is so lovely. Mm-hmm. I'm so excited that you're taking it there, Amy. I'm so excited that you're going to share this with the littles, the little ones. Can you see the littles liking this book?
Yes, very much so.
My daughter's gonna love that book. I'm gonna buy it. She's gonna love it.
And I was gonna say my son would really like it. You know, he would always have his butt crack showing all the time, and all the time in Hawaii. And then we got here, and now he'll even today he'll put his little T-shirt over his jeans just in case his butt crack shows. But I think he would really like this book now. Yeah, I think
Great. Have you seen this one before, Amy?
I have
anyone?
not.
No.
No, that's the first time.
Okay. Great. Yeah. So there's a series. So there's I need a new butt, and I broke my butt. So these two they're great. They're great. And they're $7 at Walmart. So that's another thing. As you accumulate all of this curriculum, because this is all curriculum for children's yoga. As you accumulate this curriculum for children's yoga, try to find, some of the best treasures are found in secondhand stores. Just to let you know, some of the best treasures for kids yoga classes, you will find it there. And let me see, anyone else would like to share? Portia? Oh, Magnolia's here. Magnolia, hi. Hi, I'm so glad you're
Hi
here.
there. Sorry I'm late. I had a technological difficulty, but I'm finally here.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Yeah, so if anyone else would like to share, that would be great. If not, so we're just looking at these 3 questions right here. We read, I need a new butt, and how can I use the story, I need a new butt, in a kids yoga class? What poses would you think about? And maybe another aspect of this is the poses that, like downward dog, like what Chandra said, shows your butt. Like really, really giving you that confidence, like what Chandra was saying. So downward facing dog, another one would be, what would be another one? Let's think about this. Oh, cat and cow, for sure. Cat and cow would be another one. That would be like you're rounding on the cat and you're bending, and when you bend, you really are sticking out your butt. So you can think of these poses when you're crafting your classes. Think of a piece of literature and then think of these poses that go with it. And we're going to go in more detail about this. This is very general right now, but we're going to go into a lot of detail about this. So Portia or Magnolia, do you want to answer any one of these questions here for a breakout session right here?
Anna, I have a question about a pose that I can't remember the name of. When you're in a pose where you like spread your legs wide, like you're in a standing pose and you spread your legs wide and you like swan dive down and then maybe do like a forward fold with your legs in like a triangle, but not triangle pose. What is that pose called?
Well, there's the wide angle forward bend, and that's standing wide angle forward bend. And that's the direct translation from Sanskrit. This is the thing, we're going to talk about the Sanskrit aspect, because the Sanskrit aspect of these poses, they are important. And I want to address them because the Sanskrit is powerful. It's a powerful language. So I'm directly translating from the Sanskrit. So wide angle standing, wide angle forward bend. I think that's the one you're talking about. It could also be pyramid pose. Pyramid pose is when you go to one side and then you focus on one leg at a time.
No, I'm probably talking about the other one you said.
Right. The wide
because
angle.
I thought that would be a really good pose also for the like downward dog and cat and cow, and that would be like a good one for the butt. Where it's really like putting your butt as the focus of the pose. And I'd be happy to share. I'm so excited to be doing this class because I did all of my mama baby yoga with you in the yurt at 7 Centers, which is now closing, and I have some grief about that, but I also just accept the passage of time, and I've really wanted to do this for a long time. I have a home practice with the boys that we do, And I felt like lately it's gotten kind of erratic and sporadic instead of more like a staple. So I just really wanted to, you know, up my game for the boys and I. And then also I think, you know, part of, you know, feeling not great in my skin since gaining weight has been like shying away from my practice when I need my practice more than ever to help myself come back into balance. And so I'm just really like, you know, when you invited me to join the class, I was like, you know, it's like my instinct is to run from feeling, you know, the trauma of what's going on with my body or the off-centeredness of how I'm responding in my own skin. And yet, like, that's the time that you need to like run toward practice like your bottom's on fire, you know, because it's when you need it so desperately. So I'm just trying to turn from running away from practice because of how I feel in my skin to running back towards it, because I think the awareness of like the purity of watching kids and transmitting this language to their, or this knowledge to kids, always gets me out of myself. You know, it's like, it always puts me to the side. It's like, oh, I'm having myself and these adult problems. And, but it's like, that's so secondary to my passion about the kids having what they need to be grounded and centered and having these tools. So I'm really grateful for that. And I'm really grateful for having a long-term experience with you during a very like tender time and precious time in my life. So I'm grateful for that. And I'm glad to be here with you guys.
Thank you, Magnolia. Thank you so much. We'll talk about mom and baby classes because they have a special place in my heart for sure. Those classes are some of my favorite classes to teach. So we'll talk a lot more, and we'll return back to what this journey is of the yoga teacher training. So we'll go back to what you're saying, Magnolia, about the practice and everything. But I do want Portia to kind of chime in a little bit. And we talked a little bit before everyone got here, but I know that you're at NAU and you're doing a master's program, but right now you're back down from school. And if you could just, what interests you about kids yoga?
So I'm really interested in helping people reconnect with their inner child, or stay connected with their inner child, mostly for animals. So I'm really interested in speciesism, the discrimination against animals. So it's important for me to help people reconnect with the more than human world, which is animals in the natural world, to produce a more egalitarian and sustainable world. And because children are our future, I think it's really important that they have these tools that they can remember before they lose that as they age. So I'm really interested in helping children explore their bodies in a really positive way and fall in love with animals through these poses and nature poses as well, as a way to educate them and have fun at the same time, and for them to always come back to this spiritual practice.
Yeah. Great. So great that you're here, Portia. And we just connected in the last hour. So it's like all synchronistic. It's all synchronistic. And that's what you're gonna find in this journey of yoga. You're gonna find that there's this synchronicity. And we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about the foundation of yoga as a practice, and the foundation of yoga, and it is not a religion, and it's not anything like that. It's a lifestyle. It's a way of living life and connecting to nature. So great. And my favorite ice cream is non-dairy chocolate. I love chocolate. Love chocolate. And we're gonna go ahead and go on to the next one. Can someone be in time of the charge of the time? So just to keep me on top of the time, you know.
I can.
I don't go on rants or something. Go completely out of our time here. So we'll return back to this book, but this is a great book. Let's go to the syllabus, and I'm going to open up the syllabus here. And actually the syllabus is on Google Classroom as well. So if you want to look on Google Classroom, you can look. And those of you who are not on Google Classroom yet, I think I sent Google Classroom requests to everyone here. I just wanted you to have all this information on one place. It's a great introduction to the structure of this class, of this certification class. Wednesdays really work well with me from 7 to 8:30. And if that works well for you too, go ahead and put it in the chat. If you could just say, yep, it works. If Wednesdays from 7 to 8:30, if it doesn't work well for you, just say no, it doesn't work well, and we'll go ahead and figure it out. I'm being really mindful not to have it go past 8:30 because it's an hour and a half is about my buffer of how long I can be in this format. So I'm going to be really, really aware of that to honor those time frames and everything. It looks like this would be a good time. I'm looking at the chats. It looks like so far so good. Okay, so I'm gonna make myself available an hour before these Zoom calls for anybody who needs any help in any of what we're doing. Okay, so that's like on my office hours. I'll have Zoom on, and if you have any questions, you can always just, come on Zoom and ask me a question. You don't need to stay on. You just need to either chat with me or you can talk to me, whatever you need, okay? And this is the hour breakdown. So I've been teaching 100-hour teacher trainings, and that 100-hour teacher trainings, I did it in 10-day increments. And those were live in person at Seven Centers Yoga Arts. And they were really, they were intensives for sure. And I love them. I love that format, but I really wanted to break it apart into 50 hours. And then at some point I'll do 50 hours in person or whatever to make it 100 hours, because that's what the Yoga Alliance, if that's something that's interesting, Yoga Alliance gives you credit for 100-hour teacher training. So we'll talk more about that, but this is the breakdown. You have 16 online classes. And again, I'm keeping it at an hour and a half, 16 homework assignments that's on Google Classroom, and they're in the manuals as well. So the manual is in Google Classroom as well, and the Google Drive there, and I posted them. 8 adult yoga classes, you can do them for free at Sedona Soul. I teach at various times to adults. I teach at various times to kids. You don't have to do all of your adult classes with me, but you can do some of them online. You can do some of them somewhere else locally. It's up to you. But if you are wanting more feedback on stuff, it's easier for me to interact with you like after class and tell you how I taught that class or what my reasoning was behind certain things. It's a good place for us to discuss about the really, really practical parts of teaching yoga. Not practicable. I don't know where that word came from. Anyway, so that's why I put in Sedona Soul Yoga, because I really want to be able to give you the background of what I do in a class, give you the behind the scenes of the reasoning for certain poses one way, or the sequencing of certain, so all those little nitty-gritty details about classes. Student observation of kids yoga teaching. So again, we used to do this live, but because things are the way that they can be done online too. I have about 5 kids yoga classes. I've just started my YouTube channel basically. And let me just tell you, the biggest thing around all of this YouTube stuff is the copyright issues, So if you look on my YouTube channel and you say, oh my God, Anna, that music is just horrible. And I tried to pick good music for what copyright-free music, but the choice is pretty slim. The choices are slim out there for, you know, good kids copyright-free music. So I already had one video taken down because I learned just by experiencing it, you know, but it's all trial and error. So I put up a kids yoga class that had like the regular music that I would use every day, and it was taken down because of the copyright issue. So just to let you guys know, that's always an issue when you're dealing with any kind of online format or anything like that. So student teaching practicum. So you have an opportunity to do your student teaching when I'm doing any kind of kids yoga classes. And I have one weekly, and I have camps coming up, and I'll fill you in on those opportunities. And the video presentations. So video presentations, you just have 2 classes. I put in there hours, 2 hours and 4 hours, but they're really 2 classes because 2 30-minute classes, because I give you credit for preparation for when you're preparing. So the total is 50 hours. So I'm going to keep going. These are the goals. These are, I want to say something about the required texts. We really won't be using the yoga education for children until the 5th or 6th week. So you have some time to get those. And they're like 18 bucks on Amazon. These 2 books with my book too, the Yoga for Big Hearts, I will refer to my book. Even tonight, I will refer to my book because I've been teaching children's yoga since 2005, I think 2004 in there sometime. And whether it's been after school programs or at, you know, studios or wherever it's been, one day I just was like, I'm putting it all in a book. I just need to put it all in a book and just put it there. So if anything, I can refer to it. It took me 7 years to write that book. And I was a mama at the time, so I had a little toddler Jaden at the time. So I was doing little bits at, you know, little just increments at a time. So the Yoga for Big Hearts and Little Hands, that's on Amazon. And just do jazz hands if you have it already. Anybody have it already, jazz hands? Okay. Good, a few of you. It is at Cottonwood Library and Sedona Library too. So I'm trying to get it on the libraries as well. So if you want to check it out from there. Yoga Education for Children by Swami Saraswati, Volume 1 and Volume 2. They're beautiful. They're beautiful, beautiful resources. They have a ton of great ideas, and we're going to talk about them. They're just the most authentic, grounded books in terms of like ancient traditions that for children's yoga education, that is just, they're just beautiful. They're required for our classes, and then the manuals on Google Classroom. And then I'm going to skip down to the points. This is pass fail. I'm not really going to keep track of points too closely, but it's all right there. It's what you need to get the 50 hours. It's really, really fun. I mean, these video presentations and the student teaching practice, this whole process in teaching children's yoga teachers, what I found is that you're in the adventure and the journey of healing that inner child, so you can give more to children. So it's really, really about accessing that playful, that joyful, and clearing out everything that is stopping you from that point of being happy and joyful. So so I don't want you to look at any of these assignments, these things as like pressure. I want you to look at them as joyful, and I'll work with you with them. And I want you to just have fun with them. Really, really. one of the big picture that I have with this training is to return children back to the natural way, letting children play, letting children connect with nature, and how all of these things are connected, and how we could be models of that for them. And also, we must really get in touch with our own inner child in order to transmit the teachings. So there's a lot right there, but I wanted to just introduce you to that. Okay, so let's keep going. This is the scheduled topics. It's a little, if you looked at the website, I've changed it a little bit because I've added more things, taken out things. So this is the schedule. And that's it. Great. Any questions? Any questions? Nope. Okay, so should we keep going? And you know what, at the end, we'll have an opportunity for questions as well. So good job. Do we need to stand up a little bit? Do we need to move around? Are we doing okay? Do we need to wiggle a little bit?
I have
Okay,
a
so
quick and I have a quick question.
Great.
Can we buy the book your book directly from you, or is there somewhere else we should go? Is there a place we can, like, can we buy it from Sedona Soul Yoga, or should we buy it from you directly to avoid, you know, the Amazon loop? Is that possible?
You know what's the best place to buy it right now? Is that Magnolia?
Yes.
Seven Centers. If you are somewhere close to Seven Centers Yoga Arts, they're having a big moving sale on Monday, and they have these 3 books there already ready for you guys.
Awesome. Thank you. Do you know what time they're open on Monday for the sale?
I don't know, but I know it's early. I know they're doing it like 8 or 9. Like, I know it's early morning.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just ordered the other 2, the Swami ones, and there's only a few copies left on Amazon of those. So if people are wanting to get that, they should possibly do that soon, because there were only a few copies left.
Yeah. Yeah, those come from directly from Bihar. So this tradition of yoga that I'm sharing with you is the tradition of Satyananda. So that's the Bihar school, and that book is the tradition of the Satyananda lineage. And so Seven Centers gets their books from India, and it takes them at least 2 or 3 months directly from India, and even sometimes more to get those books. So if you have an opportunity to see them on Amazon and they're running low on them, I would definitely jump on that opportunity, because yeah, to get them from India, it takes a long time. So good, great question. Okay, our resources here. Resources, we're using Google Classroom, we're using Zoom, we're on Zoom right now, we're using Facebook, and these are, I think everybody pretty much has gone into the Google Classroom. Look on the Facebook group, and that's just a group of support questions. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going. Oh, great. Okay, so now we're switching brains completely. So that was all logistical. That was all the logistical stuff of this program. But now we actually get to dive into the yogic part of this, which is very exciting. So the 8 limbs. I'm starting off with Patanjali's Yoga Sutras and the 8 limbs of yoga. And I have to say before we actually really dive into it is that we could go a long time with studying all 8 of these. Like, this is what I would normally do in a live setting, is that it would take days and days to talk about these 8. And I'm going to go through them and share about all of these tonight, but just know that each one of them warrants further study, and they warrant contemplation and reflection and meditation on all of these. So all that we're about to talk about, this is coming from the Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. Yoga came from this place of meditation on nature. So what the ancients did is that they would go outside and they would sit outside and they would just watch. They would observe. They became masters of silence and masters of connecting with nature. And they would look at a tree and they would want to connect to the essence of that tree. They would want to connect to the spirit and the soul of that tree. And so they said, how can I connect? How can I receive that energy of a tree? And then they would go into a pose. And then they would connect with that, the deepest way that a natural world. So they did that with everything. They'd go into meditation for hours and they would reflect upon a rock or a tree or an animal like an elephant. And this is how these asana came about. So the first of the 8 limbs, according to Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, the first of them that we're talking about right now is asana, because asana means postures or poses. So I'm giving you the Sanskrit and I'm giving you the English. And so they would reflect on these asanas, and then they would connect the body through movement. And they would connect the body through breath. And so it is said that we have so many asanas. And if anybody's ever seen Dharma Mitri, there's this big poster of about 300 asanas that he's in throughout his lifetime. And that's just 300 poses. But one of my teachers is Rama Jyoti Vernon, who's actually in town right now at 7 Centers. I'm going to go see her tomorrow, actually. She says there's thousands of asanas. And this makes sense, right? Because the body is not stagnant. The body makes different shapes. And every time the body makes different shapes, then it's a different energy of the body. It affects different energy centers, which are called chakras, or that's in Sanskrit, they're wheels in English. And there's a different mantra, a different yantra, and they have tantric connections, those asanas do. So the mantra is the sound. Different asanas activate different sounds in the body. Different asanas activate different shapes. And it is said that when you're going into those shapes, those yoga poses, that you're going into those poses with everyone who's ever practiced that pose. That it's a yantra, so it's this connection that you have with everyone who's ever practiced that pose. You're going into that pose with them. So asana is one of the 8, but isn't it funny? We really think about and experience asana more than we do sometimes than the other 7. And especially in the Western world, we put a lot of emphasis on asana than any of the others. And it seems like in like American yoga, it's very, very focused on, and you know, it's good in a way because it introduces people to the other 7 parts of the limbs of yoga. Okay, so it's always my beginnings of yoga was through hot yoga. When I started doing yoga, I started doing yoga in 2001, and I went to a hot yoga place, and it was just the funniest place because we would do this hot yoga, like this intense hot yoga practice, and then they would have shots. They would have Jello shots with vodka in them, you know? They would be like, okay, we're having a Jello shot party now. And I was like, whoa, it was really, really interesting. I'm like, is this what yoga is about? Like these hot yoga poses and then everybody's taking, you know, Jello shots. So that was a unique experience. So I experienced yoga. That was my introduction. But then I bounced around teachers. I finally found the teacher that I really loved, and then I went through yoga teacher training. But again, the asana is definitely a step in the door. You know, you're curious about the shapes, and then you become more curious about the whole ancient background of it. So that's asana. Let's go to the top one. So let's go to samadhi. Samadhi. So do jazz fingers if anybody knows what samadhi is or has an idea. Samadhi is bliss. So like the book that I was reading today in my children's yoga class was about Gandhi. And what do the yogis say about Gandhi? The Gandhi went into Mahasamadhi. So Mahasamadhi is great enlightenment, great bliss. You know, that's what the yogis say about people who cross over to the other side or they pass. And Gandhi passed in such a beautiful way. You know, Gandhi was shot, but he passed. And his last words before he passed was of God. You know, it was of Ishvara Pranidhana, and I'll talk about Ishvara Pranidhana later. But it was of God. It was of his devotion to God. But when you hear that he went into Mahasamadhi, this goes back to the 8 limbs. Samadhi is bliss. It's part of yoga, bliss, and bringing yourself to that place of beautiful happiness in your heart, beautiful happiness, and bringing that to everything that you do. We'll talk a lot about samadhi, okay, because I'll share with you how all of these 8 limbs are all interwoven together, but we'll come back to samadhi. In fact, all of this yogic philosophy, we're going to come right back to. Every class, we're going to come back to. And even if we don't get through all of the yamas and niyamas tonight, we will come back to them. And that leads me to,
I have a question.
Sure.
Pardon me, gang. I mute myself in video because I'm in a room full of bouncing Vikings. But my question was, like, what's the Sanskrit translation of samadhi? Because I thought it was more like union. I mean, I know that maybe they're, no, honey, not right now. I know that there's, you know, like, is it bliss or is it like lack of like separation or connection? Like, what's the Sanskrit understanding of samadhi?
So samadhi, union is yoga. So the direct translation from yoga is union, or to yoke, to become whole. Okay. Samadhi, I don't know the exact word for word of the translation, but for me, I've always, from Rama's point of view, it's always been directly translated to bliss or enlightenment. So I think you're maybe thinking of yoga.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So we'll come back to samadhi. And so many of our children that we're seeing today, they're in this place already. They're in this place of bliss. You know, they're already very happy. They're happy children. And it's our role to keep them happy, to honor their happiness. It's our role to keep them, to not turn them into cynical, negative, pessimistic beings. It's our role to say, yes, spread your happiness. Be proud of being a happy person, and, you know, use that happiness for your role here and your reason of being here. So I've seen a lot of children who they're just so happy. They're beautiful children. They shine of happiness, and they experience samadhi. So let's go to the yamas and niyamas. So the yamas are the restraints. So this is the yamas and niyamas. When we start talking about the yamas and niyamas, we're talking about the yogic code of conduct, okay? So in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, we're talking about these instructions on how to be and how to live life and how to connect completely with the nature of earth. And we'll come back to the yamas and niyamas. Niyamas is the yamas is the restraints, and the niyamas is the habits, the good habits to get into. And really these are in my book, in the appendix, but I talked a lot about it throughout my entire book, is the yamas and niyamas too. I have the appendix. If you look at the very back of the book, you'll see that I have it all lined up and all of everything translated in there too. We'll come back to that. Pranayama, Mahaprana, Mahaprana. Jazz fingers if you know what prana is, if you've heard of prana. Yeah, what prana is. Yeah, good. Mahaprana. Prana is life force. Prana is the chi, you know. And I talk about Mahaprana because a lot to children and a lot to adults. Of course, my wording with children is different than in my wording with adults, and I've reflected on both a lot. Pranayama doesn't have a big role in children's yoga, and there's a reason for it. And we're going to talk a lot about this, actually, because pranayama is life force. Children come in with high life force. They already are coming in with it, unless there's trauma, and we'll talk about trauma, okay? Children come in with very high life force, and their life force is you can feel it, you know it. When you're working with children that have not had severe trauma, they flow in a way where there's a bounce in their step, there's a smile on their face. They may not be completely sure of their bodies, but they have some idea of what their bodies do. You know, they have some connection there, but they have that life force that's so beautiful. And they have the first 5 years of their life force comes from their mother. Okay, and we'll talk about the masculine and the feminine, the mother and the father. The father is the outward life, how they appear outwardly. The mother is in the inward life. Okay, that's the symbolic meanings of parents. You know, mother, father. Mother is the inward life, the inward pratyahara life. The father is the outward life, the external life. Okay, we'll talk a lot about that. But pranayama, they come in, we don't really need to teach children pranayama until a certain age. So we'll talk more about that. We'll talk more about pranayama. And that just means the observation of breath in the body, the observation of prana in the body. Some yogic traditions talk about it being breath control. From my yogic traditions and my teachers, Ramakirti, Satyananda, Shraddha Sagar, even Goenka, this yoga tradition, breath control is not what pranayama is. That's not my interpretation of what I've been taught. And sometimes it's said to be like that in certain texts, but my interpretation of it is not that at all. It's not controlling anything. Good. Okay, pratyahara. Pratyahara is completely going inward and not paying attention to the outward existence. So blocking out the senses of the outward existence and going completely inward. So it's focusing only on the internal process. Okay, so pratyahara is the practice of completely going inward and blocking out the senses of the outward. Okay, so this is a very advanced process. We'll talk more about this. This is very hard for children to do because they need to have this concentration, and in order to do that, it's hard for adults to do. Oh my gosh, you know, it's hard for everyone to do. So we'll talk. It's a very advanced practice, pratyahara, but it's one of the practices that people, some yogis, this is all they do. This is exactly all they do. They wake up in the morning and they do 12 hours of pratyahara, and that's their practice. They may not ever do one bit of asana, but they'll do pratyahara. So we'll talk more about that. Dharana. Let me go to dhyana. Dhyana is the next one. That one is meditation. And I encourage you to have some sort of mindfulness or some sort of meditation practice while we're doing this training. It will help a lot with, especially if you're not used to this type of screen time. And I encourage you to, like, anytime you need to turn off your video and just kind of like listen to me and like close your eyes, that's fine with me as well. Meditation and mindfulness is so useful when you have a lot of external stimulation, and it's useful almost in any circumstance. And there's the really exciting thing about this too is that science is just catching up on these benefits, and there's so much research being done now, and there's so many backing of what the yogis already knew, you know, and with the meditators already knew. So meditation is a great, and we'll practice these meditation techniques, and we'll teach them to children too. Mindfulness to children first, then meditation, but meditation only later. We'll talk about the developmentally appropriate times to teach these practices because there is a sequence to them. And dharana is concentration. So concentration, there are practices, ancient practices that just focus on concentration. And some of the karma, some of the other cleanses where it just, all it is purification for concentration. And again, there are different types of yogis that this is all they do, that they pick one thing and this is exactly all they do all the time. And if you were in an ashram setting, or if you were in like kind of like a place where a meditation center, that would be their job. That would exactly, they would just spend 12 hours concentrating, or 12 hours doing pranayama, or 12 hours meditating. That's what they do. And that's why when you hear, so when I was introduced to these practices, I heard of these yogis doing these extraordinary things. I'm like, never eating. You know, they would have one piece of food their whole life, you know? So these austerities. And then I realized that they were doing these austerities because they were able to do these austerities because of these 8 limbs. They had mastered pranayama, or they had mastered asana, or they had mastered one of these, and so they were beyond food. You know, they could go through. There's pranayama practices where it gives you great satisfaction through pranayama. They've mastered, or there was one yogi that vowed never to speak. You know, he vowed never to speak. So he had a pad of paper with him everywhere he went. He was able to do that because he had mastered one of these 8 limbs, or maybe 4 of them, you know. So when you hear yogis and their austerities, and I'll bring up more circumstances of these, they're able to do these extraordinary things because they know the 8 limbs of yoga. They study them and they practice them. So it's quite beautiful. It's quite beautiful to see them in motion and to see them integrated into life. You know, these 8 limbs. One story, jazz hands, if you've ever heard of Rama Jyoti, and she's well known in the yoga world, but her great feat, her great work, it was her work with the Soviet Union during the Cold War. So she went to the Soviet Union like something like 8 times during the 1980s when there was the Cold War, and she was one of the main mediators between the United States and the Soviet Union. And she attributes her work, all of that work, to her practices, to her yogic practices, and not only the asana, but all of them. So again, these are just stories of these yogis who were able to do these extraordinary austerities because of the practices of yoga. And I wanted to share them with you, and I'll be sharing them with more stories like that throughout our training, because I want you to see the big picture of what these practices do, what these practices lead to. Okay, can someone shout out the time? Where are we with time?
It is 8:16.
8:16. Okay, so let's go to we're gonna do one of the pages for the yamas and yamas, because the yamas and yamas are big. So we're gonna do the yamas, and then we're gonna move on from the yamas. We'll come back to the niyamas, okay? Okay, thank you, Magnolia, for letting me know the time too. Okay, so the yamas. I have the Sanskrit, I have the English. So go ahead, someone tell me one of these that you've heard of. There's one that's pretty well known of the yamas, the restraints. They've named organizations for it. It's even like they're teaching it to children. Like they have a children's organization has anybody heard of Ahimsa? Ahimsa, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, that's one of the yamas from Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. So here we have Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Abrigaha, Brahmacharya. Okay, and these are the 5. So let's just say them. Let's just say them together. So I'm gonna say, you can unmute your screens. I'm gonna say them. Say one, and then you can just say it. So I got this. My sister's taking a Sanskrit course. You're up there. My sister's taking a Sanskrit course, and this is how they learn Sanskrit. He says it, and it's someone from India who's teaching it. He says it, and then they say it. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this like call and repeat. So go ahead and unmute yourselves. Good. Okay, so Ahimsa. Everyone. Ahimsa. Everyone. Okay, let's do
Ahimsa.
Good. Okay, one more time. Ahimsa.
Ahimsa.
Good.
Ahimsa.
Good. Okay. How about Satya?
Satya.
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 Satya. Good.
Satya.
Okay. Asteya.
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 Asteya. Good. Okay, so this one is a little bit different. It's a parigraha. I know it looks like a pregraha, but it's a parigraha. Aparigraha. Yes. Aparigraha. It's this one right here. My arrows on.
Aparigraha.
Yes. Aparigraha. Okay, and this one, you see the C right there? Let me see if I can get a little note going. You see that C that's right there? That's a ch. So it's brahmacharya. Brahmacharya.
Brahmacharya.
Brahmacharya.
Brahmacharya. Good.
So is the C is a CH? Brahmacharya?
Yep, the C is the CH. Yes.
Brahmacharya.
Yeah.
Is it brahmacharya or brahmachara?
Brahmacharya. Charya.
Brahmacharya.
Charya. Brahmacharya.
Ahimsa. I'm kind of chanting it. You can sing it with me. We're gonna sing it a little bit. Ahimsa. Ahimsa. Go ahead. I want to hear you guys. Karaoke people.
Ahimsa. Ahimsa.
Satya.
Satya.
Good. Asteya. Good. Aparigraha.
Aparigraha.
Aparigraha. Brahmacharya.
Brahmacharya.
Good. So when you're learning these, it helps to close your eyes, to sing them, to chant them, because Sanskrit is a vibrational language. So when you say the word, you become the word. You become the vibration of the word. So like in English, I say peace, but peace, I don't like there. I could say peace all day long, but I could still have tension and pain in my neck or in other places, right? But when Sanskrit is a language that when you say it, shantihi, that's peace in Sanskrit, you become that in which you say. So it's this very ancient, beautiful language. So ahimsa, ahimsa, you become that non-violence. So it's non-violence. It's that place within you that doesn't seek violence, passive violence, physical violence on anyone or anything. Okay? And a great teacher of ahimsa is Gandhi. And we'll talk more about other people, but Gandhi is a great peacemaker, and he talks about peace in such a beautiful way. I'll share with you some books in his teachings. They're lovely. They're so beautiful. So when we're looking at these yogic codes of conduct, we look at the adult perspective and the children's perspective. And for ahimsa, we look at the adults saying actions must be practiced in respect and kindness. And children's were thinking act and think in a nonviolent way, or act and think in a kind way, okay, in a kind way. So what the difference between the adult perspective and the children's perspective is that the children's perspective is usually very simple. It's like just very clean and clear, like completely struck down from the details, so it's easily grasped by a child. It's easily understood, and they understand these very well. Actually, they understand these very well. So I'm going to stop there for a second. And I see that it's 8:24. It's getting late. We are gonna come back to the yamas and the niyamas because they're so juicy. They're the juiciest part of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. I love them so much. So I just want to go and show you one more thing on the slideshow before we do the very last thing. So I went to the wrong one. There we go. Okay. We're going to go back to those. We're going to go back to that. The homework is to attend one yoga class of your whatever you'd like and just kind of reflect upon it. Having a yoga practice during this time is it's going to be really, really beautiful for you.
I think she just ate.
And this is in the manual, and it's on the Google Classroom as well. So I'm just reminding you of that. There's no mindfulness homework, but here, I do want to do this before we end. Is there any questions? No?
I have a question, but it can wait until after it, when everything is done, if that's okay.
Yeah,
Just
sure.
like I'm new to it. Okay. Yeah, if you
Yeah,
could
sure.
stay on
No
with me,
problem.
that'd be nice.
Okay, no problem. Okay, why don't we share one word to describe the experience tonight? So go ahead and just think of one word. It doesn't have to be more than one word. And we're just going to go around and just, with no explanation, we won't add any discussion to it. We'll just say one word about your experience tonight and our first night of our kids yoga teacher training here. So whoever wants to start, you can go ahead and start.
Excitement.
Perfect timing.
Lovely.
Comfortable.
Discovery.
Great. I think we got everyone. Well, for me, just honored. So honored to share this with you. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to end here. Thank you so much. I love you. Peace, peace, and perfect peace. And next week, we'll come back to the yamas and niyamas. Then we'll go forward with mindfulness. And if you guys have any questions in between now and then, go ahead and contact me through Google Classroom. And we'll go from there. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anna.
Awesome.
Namaste.
Bye. Namaste. So I am going to stop the screen here.
Hi.
Hi.